Welcome back to Empowerment Radio. What are your life lessons that you have learned? A few people have emailed me, as I mentioned, and there's still a chance for you to call in or to just write something into the message box at Facebook Live, Transformation Talk Radio, or Dr. Friedemann Schaub, or you can also go to the Transformation Talk Radio chat box. So Jenny says, I have learned to not give up. There are dark days where some sunlight peeks through the cracks, and I realize that things might be still possible. I think that's a really wonderful learning to, even when you struggle, even when you feel like nothing is really changing, to pay attention to those little cracks, pay attention to those openings that really show you there is light, there is hope, there is possibility, there is a way, and holding on to that and trying to more and more look for those moments where you can feel that. And I have worked with many people that have been feeling just hopeless and dark, and after all their quest for healing and improvement, they almost gave up, and just finding that little self inside that just doesn't give up and that sees that, yeah, there is a lot of goodness out there, and I can actually see through the crack that there is a life without depression or without anxiety, and there is a self that can actually feel good about oneself and can have trust in oneself. And holding on to that and looking for that, that's a really, really important and wonderful aspect of our mind. Because our mind in general is not a mind that is easily giving up. It's a mind that is here to either look forward to something it can enjoy, or at least wants to make sure that somehow we are safe. And again, safety comes also with the trust in being able to deal with life and being able to go through challenging times. So thank you for sharing this. And then there is Angela. She said, I decided to spend every morning some time appreciating. And even in my most busiest times, this gives me a sense of calm as I enter into the day. And that, I feel, also is a really good habit to have, because maybe it's just, how our society is, or how maybe our culture is more focused on what's not working, what we need to improve, what we don't have, the lack, the flaws, and not really taking in what is great and what is actually a gift and what makes us feel, we are lucky to be alive, lucky to be in that life, lucky to be surrounded by the people that care about us, lucky to be ourselves. So spending time appreciating, a wonderful lesson and a wonderful habit to develop. Daryl says, when I'm scared and hesitant, I say to myself now, it's okay, I love you. And then somehow I can move through it. That's actually also something I love, because I often feel that, when we are scared or doubtful or something, that we either get mad at ourselves or that we are trying just to run away from those feelings and distract ourselves, but just really seeing this more as a call to get a little reassurance from ourselves, a call to just remind ourselves, yeah, it may work out or not, these people may like me or not, I may get what I want or not, and I still love myself, I still gonna be okay. It's very soothing, very comforting, and it puts things into perspective, because at the end, how often do we really identify ourselves with what we think we should be or should be doing, or how other people should perceive us, and we really lose touch with the most important relationship, which is the one with ourselves. So this is, I love myself, or I love you, basically talking to yourself. That's a great reminder of, well, I want to make that relationship my centerpiece, my focus, and don't really want to get so distracted by all these with outside noise. That doesn't mean that you don't care about others, but I talked about this many times before. It just means that you are at peace with yourself. Paul said, I learned how important it is in my family to listen to each other. Too often I try to quickly intersect and give answers and solutions, which only frustrates my wife and kids tremendously. Just listening to each other brought us closer together. That's actually something, a nice lesson, that I also have practiced more with my wife. We have these stress relieving conversations, which we started to have, which come from the Gottman Institute that is really focusing on making couples happier and more in sync with each other. And those stress relieving conversations are basically about being a good listener and just not feeling that you have to already have the answer ready, or not feeling that it has to be somehow, while someone is unhappy, that you care about. So my job is now to make them happy. They have a problem. I have to find a solution. And maybe, in 90% of the cases, that's not really what's important. What's important is just to listen and have the feeling that the other person has your back. Maybe that they have the time and the patience to sit with you, even when you're not all shiny and happy, rather miserable, and they still don't leave you. And they still love you. And they still believe in you. So there are ways in this way of listening that you can ask questions, or you can maybe just, go more into the feeling. What does it feel? Or what's the worst that you think can happen? And then at the end, you may say, is there anything that you would like me to help you with? But the most part is spent with listening. And I think that's a quality that we cannot lose. And we are on the verge of losing because we are A, very distracted, and B, our attention span gets slower and slower, gets smaller and smaller. So really having that without the phone, that is a major distraction. Even at dinners, romantic dinners can really end up with zero eye contact and only contact with your screen. Just really learning to put this aside, looking to each other's eyes and listening again. Great lesson and a wonderful habit to establish and work on also the coming year. And then there is Ryan, who says, I have learned the power of boundaries. I did not realize how often I say yes to others, even though I have no time or energy left for myself. At first, I was afraid that having boundaries will upset others, but now I realize that they respect me and my time more. Boundaries are just wonderful, right? I mean, it's like my wife always says, no is a full sentence. And I think that's just really a sign of self-care. I grew up with certainly, the caregiver, peacemaker agenda, and having boundaries was something that I didn't even know that I was allowed to have, but can be such a sign of self-care and also self-worth if you are telling others and the world, you know what, I need to say no here. I don't really have time for this, or I know that you want me to, have this or that, get a bigger house, have another baby. I mean, it can be bigger things, and you just say, no, I'm not in this space right now. I need to really focus on myself. I need to get better. And that's my boundary. And, I really do believe that a clear boundary can create actually a closer relationship, because when you say yes, it doesn't come from a false wanting to please, but it comes really from the, yes, I'm available to you. I'm happy to give this to you, because the no has been also as clear and as consistent. So it really, changes the dynamic in the relationship. It does increase the respect for each other, and gives also the other person the opportunity to have boundaries. It's not just a one-way street. So it's something we can certainly, probably most of us, learn more from. Now, there was one thing I wanted to share, which also was a really wonderful lesson for me. I am a recovering, I would say, control person. I wouldn't say freak, but I definitely, maybe it's my German heritage, maybe because I was growing up in a family that was often chaotic and not in control, or I didn't feel in control. Control became very important, but control just meant for me also that I gonna do my maximum, no matter what. I'm gonna do 150% because I know I can, make a difference or change something or reach a goal. And sometimes you just have to admit that you have also limits and you have to surrender. And for me, it was about my horse, Rimael. I talked about her before, who 2 years ago had an accident. And I was determined to make her all well again, even though she had like a little dislocation of her ligament. I knew, well, this is going to be fine. I'm going to do everything I can daily to get her back on track. Well, a year and plus months into it, she injured the other side. And so we just started again, right from scratch, me still moving forward. I can make it happen, nothing to it. And after 2 years, I had to admit, it's not going to happen. I will not be able to ride her as I used to ride her, just maybe for small outings, but nothing big. And I had to let go of that desire to get her all well again. And I had to let go of this resistance to surrender. So finally I surrendered. And finally I said, sorry, Rimael, this is just how it's going to be. You're going to have a wonderful semi-retired life on the pasture, but we cannot do the same thing we used to do. Well, once I let go, a friend of a friend somehow posted on Facebook that a horse was for sale, a boy and a gelding, young, which I never really had looked for. And my friend showed me that picture and I thought, wow, this is actually an enormously beautiful horse. I want to meet him. And, so a serendipity brought us together. Gold is his name. And since ever then, he has been with us and the Trupo, and he has been nothing but joyful. He has a wonderful character. He is very smart and really fun to ride, even though he's a total beginner. Everything is new to him, but he wants to really do his best and he seems to have fun with it. But the best of all of it is that Rimael and Gold actually fell in love with each other. And now they're inseparable. And now they are just, I never saw this with horses, that they can be really affectionate and sweet with each other. And that's just something in itself that really showed me that once you are surrendering and letting go, something better may actually come your way. And how often do we have this idea and, the head is in charge and we are not looking beyond anything. We are not seeing the obvious. No, you have to just accept and then open up and trust that something else will happen. And that is something that certainly this little story with Rimael helped me.